Retro games have a very special place with so many different people. For some, it's an opportunity to revisit old favorites from the past, chances to experience the games and titles that built the foundation for the hobby that we continue to enjoy today. For others, it's an opportunity to experience old classics that maybe they never had the chance to play during their heyday, or the chance to enjoy many titles that some feel go down as just the best that have ever been made. Now, regardless of how or why you enjoy retro games, they continue to offer up many experiences that you can access in a variety of different ways and on many different platforms. For myself, I was fortunate to grow up during the height of the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I've been playing games pretty consistently since the mid to late 80s. Now, for full transparency, I did take a break from video games in the early aughts to around 2012, so I missed out on a couple of generations of great titles. When I decided I wanted to revisit video games again, it was retro gaming that brought my passion for the hobby back to the forefront. I started with Wii Shop titles, and then eventually got a Retron 5 and a handful of other games. And from there, my passion just continued to grow, and I've enjoyed all sorts of gaming from retro and modern and all points in between. But as I continued to enjoy that foray back into the hobby, I did start to get lured by the appeal of new games and modern experiences. So my time with retro gaming, it started to grow a little distant, and I've missed it. So I've decided I want to change that up a little. I've decided that there's way too much out there that I want to explore and experience for the first time. The question always comes down to, where do I start? If you're like me and you've adopted emulation as your primary means for playing retro games, that's okay, but that can also lead to a lot of indecision, especially, if you're scrolling through ROM sets and digital files galore. So to try and combat that, I decided the easiest way is to make things simple. And I'm using randomizers. I use one randomizer that has consoles that I'd like to play and experience, and another randomizer that has each letter of the alphabet. When I'm in the mood for a retro game, I hit both randomizers at the same time, and that narrows down some choice for me. The caveat, though, is that I don't want to have the entire experience randomized, so once I get my console and my letter, I go through the list, and then I decide on what to play. So over the last little while, I've experienced a handful of games this way, and I'd love to share some of that with you now. I don't remember the first time I heard about Illbleed, and to be honest, I never really knew what the game was all about. All I remember about this game is that it was highly revered as one of the top games on the Sega Dreamcast. Myself personally, I never got a lot of time with the Dreamcast when it was released in 1999, but I was always intrigued by it. I did get a chance to play a handful of titles, but Illbleed definitely wasn't one of those. Playing it this time around, I'm still not sure what to think. It certainly has a wonderful late 90s aesthetic, the graphics, they're a perfect capture of gaming of the time. And the best worst thing about this time period, it had to be the voice acting. Sometimes you got some great voice acting in games, and other times, not so much.
What, Michelle? Why didn't you listen to Eriko's speech?
I don't need to. I know she'll win. Here, take a look at this.
Those are guest invitations to Illbleed. How'd you get them?
From a Pepco promotion.
Kill! Look, we can win $100 million there.
It's an interesting game, and while the first little bit is basically a tutorial here, it doesn't necessarily translate over once the game progresses, if that makes sense. Like, I know as my senses get heightened here, I'm supposed to react accordingly, but it doesn't really let me. Like, I know something bad is about to happen, but I can't do anything about it. I wanted to enjoy this more, but the truth is, I struggled to figure out what to do. When I did figure things out a little bit, I advanced, but I still don't know what's going on. A manual and maybe a little more patience would have made all the difference, and it will if I go back to Illbleed again in the future. Earthworm Jim on the Game Boy, it is an experience. Like many of my era, I've played Earthworm Jim on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis over the years, but I never had the chance or the opportunity to experience on a Nintendo handheld. Earthworm Jim is an absolute trip. Obviously, it's scaled down from its 16-bit counterparts, but at its heart, it is still Earthworm Jim. One of the hurdles of being on the Game Boy is that it's kind of challenging to recognize some of the textures and the backgrounds that you can interact with. I didn't realize some of this until I started jumping around and then magically clung to a wall that doesn't really look like it stands out as something you can interact with. I will say the game is okay, and like many games of its era, it takes a few playthroughs to try and find your way about and what you need to do. This area, for example, I didn't know that I needed to hold down a button to accelerate, even though modern day tech suggests I should. I thought because it was a retro game, I'd have to hit the A and B button back and forth. No, hold it down and you accelerate. Some of the boss battles here were challenging, and some were even downright over the top. Like this fella here. I was shooting him, but that doesn't seem to do anything. Once I started whipping him, that appeared to do some damage, but the problem for me is that I'm not entirely sure how to do each one on its own. This is once again where manuals and instruction booklets were always beneficial. Like many retro games, my favorite way to experience them is to just go in blind and figure out what I can figure out and go from there. I would definitely go back to Earthworm Jim again, but I'd probably spend some time consulting a manual before I did. I won't spend too much time on Zexus because, to be honest, I didn't spend a lot of time with this one. I don't know if I wasn't in the frame of mind to enjoy it. I'll admit I was playing it after a late night and early morning, and as I went through this first stage, I didn't have a lot of patience for the backtracking or the back and forth, and I was making a lot of dumb mistakes that I wasn't in the best frame of mind to learn from. My plan is to definitely go back and try it again as part of this whole process because I do think it's a good game from what I've seen over the years. I believe the last time I saw this game in all its glory was from watching Sir H. Seaman stream it on Twitch. By the way, make sure to give him a follow, Sir H. Seaman. He is a great retro streamer. I do think there's something here though, but me, in the moment, it definitely wasn't a positive experience, but I'm willing to give it another shot in the near future. Jetsons was another game where either a game manual or maybe some basic common sense would have helped me to enjoy it more when I first started playing. If I'm learning more about myself, it's that diving headfirst into gaming can be fun and reckless, but also equal parts frustration and unnecessary grief. That all being said, the Jetsons was another NES randomizer that I don't think I ever played previously. I was a big fan of the cartoon as a kid, so I was naturally open to giving this game a shot. As I alluded to, I was struggling in the beginning because I thought I was playing the game the right way, but it turns out I definitely wasn't. Initially, I thought it was just a simple platformer without any weapons or offensive attacks, and that was just the way it was designed. Turns out, nope, another rush job from Wally that led to unnecessary damage and irritation. Once I learned that you can, actually pick up these blocks and throw them at your enemies, the game became a lot more manageable and a lot more fun. And this is a game I fired up one Sunday morning with a hot cup of coffee, and it was almost the opposite of Zexus, where I was in the perfect frame of mind to enjoy it, and I most certainly did. I started to find my way with it and was making some steady progress with it. I never saw the end credits, and I'm not sure my skill set with retro games would allow me to get there, but the Jetsons is a fun experience that I absolutely would recommend to others. Modern games have evolved into large, interactive, artistic experiences akin to movies and film. As such, they present themselves as large stories full of plot twists and long-term development. One of the great things I love about retro games is the way in which they set up their stories. Aside from role-playing games, most games don't really give you much of a backstory. You just kind of piece it together as you go. For games like Ghoul Patrol, I love these story intros, quick as they are, that set up everything like it's shot out of a cannon. Just boom, here's what's happening, here's why, go. That is the best way to describe how this game is set up, and I love it. I never played Ghoul Patrol when I was younger, but I'm sorry that I missed out. It is a simple premise: save people from monsters and try not to get killed. There's a lot of charm in Ghoul Patrol, and this was another fun Saturday morning for me. I don't know what to really say about it other than the game is fun. It really cements what a 16-bit era video game felt like for me, especially on the Super Nintendo. I think there are certain titles or gameplay styles that when you turn them on and you start playing them, it instantly brings you to a period of your life where games just provided a specific feeling. Like I said, Ghoul Patrol just screams 16-bit nostalgia, and it does so perfectly. Whether it's a playthrough at Halloween or something for a weekend session, this is a game I would enjoy going back to again and again. Okay, so I know there's about like 5 zillion different ways to play Fantasy Zone in today's day and age, but I was happy the randomizer offered up the Sega Master System as the platform of the day. I'll admit, I think I've played Fantasy Zone for a couple of minutes on the Genesis many years ago, and I've seen it on various videos and websites over the years, but I haven't had much personal experience. As you can see from this footage, when I started the game, I clearly had no idea what I was doing or had a single clue. This shows that perfectly. I actually laughed out loud at this initial experience because, like, how does this happen? Once I started playing it proper, though, I could see what all the fuss was about. First off, look at this color palette. This screams retro, and you may need to wear sunglasses while playing. It's so hot. But that's the Master System in all its glory, isn't it? Even though I haven't played much of the Master System in my time, I recognize how bright and colorful its gameplay always tends to be. The controls, they do take a little bit of getting used to, but this is a fun one. There's a reason some games get called classics, and while it may not ever be referred to as a Hall of Fame experience, Fantasy Zone is a great time and perfectly defines what a retro game is for me. Good for a quick session, or as long as you want to get stuck in, and I'm glad I got to try this out again. Alright, that's it. That's all for now. I'll fire up a handful of more retro games in the near future, and if you want to share more of your experiences, just let me know, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks, everyone.